Hey, Rob Cairns here with the SDM show. This year, 2020, has been a really tough year for many people, and you can thank COVID for a lot of that. For me, it's been tough from a COVID standpoint and a personal standpoint, and those of you who have followed me know there's lots going on, but 2021 seems to be a better year. I thought we'd take some episodes and look back on 2020, the tough year we've had, and take a few and move forward to 2021. So for this special episode, I sit down with my good friend Davinder Singh Kanith, where Davinder and I look at 2020, the year in WordPress, and what we think will come out of 2021. So grab your favorite drink, sit back, and relax, and enjoy this podcast. Morning, everybody. Rob Cairns here. I'm here with my good friend Davinder Singh Kanith. Davinder, how are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. So Davinder, for those who don't know him, is very big in the Beaver Builder community and writes the wonderful WordPress Weekly that we all like to read on a daily or a weekly basis. I think he should write more, but that's another story. And how's that project going, Davinder?
Awesome. Amazing are the two words to describe it. Like it's not that old, like just 4 or 5 months into it. And I've been blown away with the response and maybe the idea that I had in my mind and thing that I was looking for. That is what most people were looking for. Basically get all the good things in the WordPress without spending too much time in it. So that's like the motto of the project. Like you get to know all the good bits in the WordPress space
Yep.
in less than 10 minutes.
Yeah, it's kind of one of my go-to spots for WordPress news. Devinder does good job curating the news, but that's because multiple people also feed him the news to help him out, right, Devinder? You get sources
Oh,
from all over
yeah.
the place.
It's good to have
Yeah,
connections.
it's all about building that community. And I have to tell you, folks, if you don't know Devinder, get to know him because he's well worth what he brings to the table on a regular basis. So today I thought we're coming to the end of 2020. We thought we'd talk about a little bit of WordPress and review for the year. And I'm going to jump into a story that has alienated some people, has not alienated other people. And that was the Male Poet buy of Automatic that happened a couple of weeks ago. Thoughts on that one, Devinder?
Well, that was a surprise. First time I'm seeing a product getting acquired while it had been recently on AppSumo for lifetime purchase. And,
Yeah.
it's not just I'm talking about WooCommerce, but any company who acquires a product that has been on lifetime deal and someone who has bought that lifetime deal gets those butterflies, will my lifetime deal will be, honored or not? So in this case, WooCommerce graciously said that they will be honored, but you know how things are, like they will add another plan and how most people do it. But coming to the actual technical part of it, I think it's a good purchase for WooCommerce because this will add like in-house email marketing features for people who use WooCommerce. So this does give them, at least they are giving an alternative to people who don't want to use MailChimp or MailerLite or ConvertKit and don't want to spend on it.
I would actually say, as a Male Poet user, and I jumped in on the last lifetime deal right before the buy.
I was
Um,
worried about you.
don't be worried about me. I'll tell you, the support hasn't changed at all since the buy. The accessibility hasn't changed. I've got a large list. That's why I jumped on the lifetime deal because I'm actually saving money.
I think the employees also moved, right?
Yeah,
So
they moved. They kept all the employees intact. And to be fair to Woo and Mail Poet, Woo must have known that Mail Poet had a lifetime deal coming up around Black Friday because they were
yeah.
negotiating at that time. So they would have known. Um, and I don't think it's a bad marriage. I think it actually gives Mail Poets some stability from a business standpoint. I mean,
It's win for both of them. Like it's money well spent by WooCommerce
yeah,
because they get something that they will have to spend years in building. They got it, and MailPoet is quite solid and mature product. May not be as mature, but now they've got big backing to get more mature and feature rich.
Yeah. And Automatic's got some big backing because some time ago, earlier this year, Salesforce invested money in Automatic. And I remember the ecosystem going nuts and saying, what's going on here? And I kind of shook my head at it and said, but this is good because this major investment. And for Salesforce to get involved, that's a big deal. I mean, they even
And
bought Slack this year.
it's good for everyone because if they are investing in WordPress.com, right?
Yeah.
WordPress.com also uses WordPress.org software, right?
Yeah.
So in the end, everything does trickle down to the org software, which majority of us use, right?
Mhm. It's so true. Um, let's talk a little bit about Gutenberg. My favorite or not favorite topic, depending on the flavor of the day. I know I've played with it over the last couple of years. You've played with it a little more. What's your take on how Gutenberg's maturing and as we go to full screen editing with 5.7 coming up? Do you have any feeling on that one?
Well, I think my story is similar to story of a lot of WordPress users. Like when Gutenberg was announced, it was just like, okay, what's that? That's something very different. So I didn't feel any love or hate for it. But as things grew, I started feeling little hate about it. Like, why are they taking away the classic editor? But now when you see Gutenberg, that hate has converted into love because again, change is difficult and it could be any change in life.
Yeah.
And word as a WordPress user, you spend so much time in the default editor, so when that changes you do feel pinch here and there. But now, as of 2020 end, I think I love Gutenberg, and I am so excited that anyone can build a website. Gutenberg is sort of like a lightweight page builder. Now, this project, the WP Weekly, I made sure that I didn't use any extra plugin there, so it only uses Astra Pro theme and Gutenberg default core blocks, no add-on blocks, and experience has been really good. Obviously, I had to spend more time building it and more time adding custom css, which may not be the right way for majority of users because hey, not many know css here, right?
Hmm.
So I think for building simple websites, Gutenberg is really good as in the current form. But if you're really looking into custom website with a lot of heavy lifting, then obviously someone would look at ACF or use a page builder. However, this new feature of full site editing, which I've seen the preview, at least core wise it looks good, but they still got an year or two to make it sort of in a format that is usable by users with a longer base or with wide acceptability.
Yeah, I would agree. I've actually, so I've been on the fence, off the fence, kind of all over the map, and I admit that. So I finally broke down 2 weeks ago and said, what am I going to do with my new personal site, which I have the domain for? And I broke down and said, I'm going to build it out with 2021 in Gutenberg, and I'm not going to use anything else this time around. So I'm the best way for me to learn a new theme or a new page builder is just to say, okay, I need to do it, and here's what I'm going to use, and just do it, and that's
Exactly. That's why I used it on the WP Weekly. Like I use Astra Pro theme, but which is good, like which is lean, but I didn't use anything additional there. So
mhm.
you tend to miss few things. Like if you're using a page builder, you don't need a plugin for showing a email sign up box or posts manually. Then you dig out for solutions that work with Gutenberg.
Yeah.
But then that's the part of learning process, right?
Yeah, I would agree. That's to me the best way to learn. I'm a do it learner, guys. So give me a project, let me figure it out, and do from there.
And
Um,
mind you, the pages on my WP Weekly, it's on hosted on a same server, same configuration, blah blah blah. It loads so quickly because the markup is so minimal in it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's jump on to. I was debating whether we were going to go into the world of hosting, but I think I'm going to avoid that topic just because my feelings have been well known across Facebook lately how I
Yeah,
stand on hosting. I think,
because you've been into hosting mess
Again,
again.
it seems, since you brought it up, let's go there. It seems what happens with hosts is they get really good for a couple years and they satisfy a certain part of their population, and then they get so good, their prices go up, and they forget sometimes where what's built them to where they are.
But isn't
And that's
this true for every kind of business, not
yeah.
just hosting? Like when you get a flood of customers, you forget the value that you've been giving to your base because now you have more base to cover and you don't really care if some part of that base goes away, which in the end is very detrimental in the long run. So there's that.
So yeah, there's that, and I'm not going to call the host out, but if you really care, go look at my Facebook page for the last 3 weeks, and it's all
Yeah.
there. So I will say I'm much happier since I've decided to move, and I think the last time I moved host was about 4 years ago. So I mean, this it's just a case of evolution and needs changing and requirements changing, and I'm not. To be fair, I'm not a heavy support guy. I'm as technical in many ways as you, Davinder, and we don't do that. So let's deal with hosting. WordPress 5.7 is coming around the corner, and PHP 8, I believe, is now released or close to being released. Do you have any
I think
thoughts on that, or PHP 8 and WordPress 5.7?
few companies have started, already adding PHP 8 support to their, WordPress
Yeah.
setup. Like Kinsta has already, launched it in for their as an optional. Obviously, you need to be careful about the plugins that you're using, whether it's compatible with PHP 8, because that's
Mm-hmm.
the only concern. Because WordPress by default will work fine. You're hosting, if it supports PHP 8, then it's fine. It's just the end tail of the elephant, which is the plugins and themes that you need to be careful about.
Yeah.
And it's good that because as we move to the newer version of PHP, things get faster, it gets less resource intensive. So it's good for everyone. Like more people can have more functional, rich websites on similarly powered, servers.
Yeah. Now, what I will tell you, just interesting, I'm working for a company right now, and we do a lot of AODA, which is accessibility compliancy, which is big in North America right now. And
Mhm.
the minute you start change, and they're in a migration to PHP 7.4, which is the stable release, they're running an older version.
Mhm.
And what I'll tell you is, even moving to 7.4, it breaks things. So, what I would suggest to anybody who's thinking about going to PHP 8, please, please, please do a database backup and a backup beforehand.
Yeah.
and and make sure you don't do anything silly. I mean, when you're doing migrations, the key is always to do a backup and a database backup. And I would go so far as to suggest the best and easy way is actually to go into PHP admin and export your database and just do an FTP backup. So if you need to throw it back up there quickly, you can. Um, not that the tools like the Updrafts and the Backup Buddies are bad, but in this case, I would just do it. But don't do that type of a switch without having a backup, please, because you'll cause yourself grief, right, Devinder?
Yeah, a big group because a lot of things won't work. But I guess that routine should be followed for any update, not
Yeah.
just PHP, even for WordPress. But guess what? Majority of us don't follow that. So
No, I know. So much so that in my business, I've actually switched all my clients to twice a week updates instead of once a week updates as a value add in the last. Well, when it's all automated, it's not too bad to do, but I've made that switch. And the reason I've made that switch, frankly, is what we're seeing since COVID hit, because a lot of us are at home right now, especially in North America. We were talking about in the pre-show, and you were saying India's not locked down, Ontario is locked down, and because we're all at home, guess where the hackers are, folks? They're all at home as well, so they have nothing better to do.
yeah,
And I don't know about you, but I'm seeing an increase of 1,000 to 2,000% on hack attempts on websites.
really.
Yeah, really, the bots stuff.
Uh, I'm not into those things. I do have security software installed on my sites, which do tell me I had this many attacks and they were blocked. So I guess That's true, right?
Yeah. My big security stack, as most people know, is WordFence. A shout out to the guys and to Kathy's aunt and the whole WordFence team.
Yeah.
And
I
I've
use WebArcs.
yeah, choose your
Yeah,
poison. WebArcs is just as good. I believe that.
yeah.
Um, okay, so let's talk about what you would like to see in WordPress 5.7, which is around the corner. Anything you want to see as a developer?
I think more maturity. The only thing for last 1 year, we've been into this transition phase of blocks, right? And the
Yeah.
whole ecosystem has shaken up a little. And there is page builder ecosystem, which is stable sort of it, but they also have the fear at the back of the mind because of Gutenberg, because a new ecosystem has developed for Gutenberg, which is
Hmm.
Gutenberg add-ons. You've seen like every company is building their own,
Hmm.
and they are good. They are not just, you can't brush them under the carpet. They're actually good. They are almost like the page builder version of things that actually is built on core blocks, and they work really well, obviously. But the problem is the base thing is still work in progress, the
Yep.
core blocks. So what I would like to see, like, obviously it's a wishful thinking, but I would want that full site editing comes quicker and it comes faster, because it was supposed to be released in December, I think, but
Yeah.
they had to reschedule it because of some development lag and all that. So, but then it's like expecting people to speed up development when you have limited resources. So,
And you have volunteers in the case of WordPress core. Most of those people are not, a lot of those people are not paid employees. They give back to the community big time.
yeah, but the good thing is now a lot of WordPress-based companies are contributing to that, voluntary stuff by
Yeah.
paying themselves to the employees, which is really good. Like Yoast is doing it, and few other companies also.
Yeah.
So that's there. So my it's just I want more stability in core blocks so that they can, because the next big evolution is full site editing. Once the core basic structure of how full site editing would work and look, I think it will change how we see themes and how themes are sold on certain set of feature sets, because
I
it
agree.
will take away widgets and all those stuff. Like you have everything that you can browse template wise. So I'm already used to that to some extent, using Beaver Themer on
Mhm.
Beaver Builder, because it lets you build headers, footers, and I'm sure you can do the same thing in Elementor as well.
And
So
believe it
people
or
are,
not, even in a theme like Aveda, which, as you know, I like, the new full page builder in Aveda lets you do exactly that. You can go in and
yes, so it's not that we are not familiar with this concept, has been there for a long time. Like you can build parts of the theme with certain things, but the way they are implementing it is a little different. But I guess when you have the core stuff done, then the add-ons that would be available for Gutenberg, they will also add more features and make it more easy and accessible for users to build
yeah.
it.
I think the concern though with the add-ons, and correct me if I'm wrong, Devinder, is the more add-ons you add, the more bloatware you add, which means you're back to the same old problem. If you install a page builder, do you slow the site down? If you install the wrong add-ons, do you slow the site down, right?
Exactly, it's we are actually getting into the same kind of mess. Someone, a year back, someone said, "Oh, with Gutenberg, all the plugins will be gone, and we will only have blocks stuff, right?"
No.
But let me tell you, what is blocks? Blocks is also a piece of code, and it's also a plugin, right?
Yeah.
It's instead of spewing out a settings page, it is spewing out a block that you can drag into your thing. It's the same. It's like building a parallel economy or a parallel mess that we already have. So because in WordPress, education is very important now. With blocks and with single blocks directory, it's like inviting big mess. Like for 10 different functions, you're going to install 10 different single blocks from 10 different
Yeah.
authors. You can imagine how it will go.
That's why when I'm building out my new personal site over between the holidays and being off, I'm actually going to use just core blocks. That's my
Yeah,
whole intent
I
of it.
used the same thing. In case someone wants to use an add-on block, instead of using a single add-on block, use a blocks add-on collection pack from some reputed, creator, like this one from Generate Press.
Yeah.
team generate blocks, then one from Astra people, and there are a bunch of others like Stackable, Qbly, and all that. Those are like, in that is like sort of a page builder kind of a thing. So
Mhm.
in that, things breaking would be very minimal because one author is controlling everything.
Yeah, and I think the other thing people need to think about, and we've been at this crossroads in a long time in the WordPress community with all the plugins, a lot of them being free and people not wanting to pay. I mean, there's people even running the free versions of Elementor and Beaver Builder because they don't want to pay extra for those. And what I would say to that, guys, is if 50 bucks saves you hours of coding, it's probably well worth your developer time to pay for the add-on if it doesn't slow the site down, right, Davinder? Like,
Absolutely. Problem is we see the price tag, but we don't see the value that's coming. As soon as you understand the value something is bringing to
mhm.
you with that price tag, things don't look that expensive.
Yeah, I know, like, even for something like Aveda, to give people an idea, Aveda sells for about 60 US. They had a Black Friday special for 39.99 US. And I can throw together a front page in Aveda without the content in like 5 minutes. Does that, literally. And Beaver Builder's the same, which I've used, and Elementor's the same, which I've used, and all the big page builders. Divi is the same. Like, once you master your tool, it's easier just to do it, right?
Yeah,
So
because we all spend so much time and energy in deciding which is the page builder I need to use. Hey, my friend uses this, so I need to use this. But you don't need to use what your friend uses. If something that you're already using works for you, just stick with it.
yeah, your theory's a lot like mine with that. Um, Do you see anything interesting coming up with REST API or application passwords, which has been kind of all the rage lately? Do you have any feelings
Well,
on either of those two or no?
application passwords, that feature has been in use for wrong reasons. Like everyone is scrambling to disable it,
Mm,
which is true to some extent. But then again, because that app thing, majority of people who use WordPress, they won't understand that thing. So, and if someone who's installed a security program like WordFence or WebArcs, right? So as a user, I want that I should be protected against everything that I don't understand, right? So by default, these programs disable this, application passwords feature in the backend,
yeah,
but you have the option to enable it, which I actually had someone comment about it. Like I said, it's good that it's disabled, but then someone commented, I don't remember the name of the person, but he or she said that this disable culture or cancel culture should not be encouraged. You should educate the user about this thing and all that, which looks good, but guess what? Who has time to get educated in WordPress ecosystem, right? If
especially not
people,
an end user. I mean, I've been a
yeah,
proponent for years. Like,
if
I'm a big fan of giving users access to
if
stuff, but I'm not a big fan of educating them in stuff they don't need to know.
if we were so good at educating ourselves, not just even end users, if even the people who build websites like me and you and others, if we were so good at educating ourselves with all the code and all that stuff, we won't be using themes that were packaged with tons of features. We won't be using page builders. Hey, would we be coding all the stuff ourselves, right? But then it's question of time
Time.
and money, right?
Yeah.
If I'm going to custom code a website, it will take me a lot more time, but will I get that much money? No, because WordPress economy is way different than other,
No,
website economy.
I agree with you. I mean, one of the trends you and I both see a lot in the groups because we both spend time. You run a group, I spend time in the groups. Is the big trends are one, how do I make my site faster? People still don't understand that images, like, I go to the 100K or less theory, so that's kind of two. Two, what's my web host? Hence my rants on Facebook lately. And three, how do I get this site done cheaper because I have no money? And I keep saying to people, but if a website's bringing you in $5,000 clients, then how do you expect to draw those type of clients on a $1,000 budget, right?
That's the problem. Like we want to build a website. Like this is the problem with a specific set of people coming into the ecosystem. They want to have a website, number one. They want to make money of the website. They want to get clients of the website and they
Mhm.
want to make it a part of business. But the problem is they don't want to spend money on it. So it's like they want to make a website like a business that will give a return without an investment, which isn't true in any form of business or entrepreneurship.
No, I agree. And I think what we need to realize as WordPress people, we need to stop underselling our stuff ourselves. So, and stop giving stuff away as we move into 2021. So there's been all these discussions, and I saw you were involved in one last week about paid discovery, right? And we need to stop doing stuff for people that gives them value for nothing. Like we got to say to people, hey, this is the cost of this. And the problem is there's always somebody that's prepared to undercut that. So that makes it really hard, doesn't it?
Yeah, because this free consulting and all that stuff only exists, I think, here, like in our ecosystem. Like, do you go to a doctor and you go for a consultation? Hey, I've got these symptoms. What do you think? Like, is the doctor gonna do a free consultation with you?
Yeah.
No, right?
No.
So I think we need to identify. It's us who have dissolved our value. We need to come back and reflect the value that you give, because again, our ecosystem is the problem is our ecosystem is so diverse. There are so many layers, and secondly, there's no standardization. So there are two people who will say developer, that I'm developer, but you really don't know who is actually a developer.
No. As we move into 2021, what things do you want to see in the ecosystem?
I think more interaction, more learning.
Yeah.
The good thing is more diversity is already coming. Like, you see more not so, people coming from not so expected places, which are generally traditionally were ignored, primarily because maybe they never felt coming out, or they were not given the opportunity. That's the good point. Like, this year it's been all about diversity. Obviously there are two sides of the same coin. Like, there is good thing people are coming out, but then there's something that some people are just positioning themselves as politically correct by getting into that diversity thing. So
Yeah.
you got to walk carefully here and identify who is there with its true intentions.
Yeah.
And other than that, I think, again, price discovery is something that everyone should focus on, because if someone charges low, the whole it affects the whole ecosystem, let me
It
tell you.
does.
And because it builds the perception, like if I'm saying I'm going to build a website for $5,000 and someone is selling, say, for $50, $100, $500, then they won't ask that person, why are you selling for $500? They will ask me the question, why are you charging $5,000?
No.
Now that is the problem, right?
No. And the other thing I think going into 2021, I personally think, and it's kind of one of my spots in my wheelhouse, we gotta work on more security. There's a lot of developers that are jumping in and creating sites, and I get involved after the fact, and I kind of look at these sites and said, and where's the security on this site? And why are you still using admin as a login ID? And and it's just like I think securities and backups is becoming more and more of an issue by the day. And I don't mean letting your host do it or doing a managed backup. I mean taking responsibility for stuff yourself. And if you don't do it yourself, get somebody to do it for you. Because I think hack
Absolutely.
attempts are way up again. Um, we've been following. I don't know if you've been following the solar wind story in North America with all the Microsoft and Google,
Yeah.
despite they deny being hacked last week, they were, and all of that mess, and a major security firm who's got ties to all kinds of Fortune 500 banks and financial companies. So I think we're going to see more of that this year, and it's getting more and more sophisticated by the day too.
Absolutely.
I mean, you read, being a WebRx customer, you probably read their blog pretty regularly. We all read places like the iThemes blog and Hacker News for exactly that reason, right? I mean,
Yeah, but the problem is, it's still just because we read it, our ecosystem is very small. Ideally, this should be read by a lot more people.
I agree. And The other thing we're seeing, I mean, it's even big plugins like Contact Form 7 last week
Yeah.
was to me came out of nowhere. Like, I mean, people either love that plugin or hate it. It's kind of the standard for people trying to do contact forms on the cheap. Let's be honest, right? I don't use it, so I don't. I either use Fluent Forms or I use, frankly, the built-in forms right into Aveda now. They have their own form structure built in, but the reality of it is Contact Form 7, and that's a plugin with millions of installs. We're not talking hundreds.
Yeah.
And, and that came out of nowhere. And to be fair to the team up at there, they patched that pretty quick. Like it was done and gone.
Yeah, they were quick to fix it. So as long as people are fixing things, because eventually things will break here
Yeah.
and there.
Yeah.
As long as you can fix it, that's why it's good that you use only those tools which are backed actively by the people or the creators. So that, and that is where the premium market comes into place. Using free for everything isn't a good thing.
Yeah. I was listening to our friend Mr. Bob Dunn's podcast the other day, Bob WP, well known and
Hmm.
a good friend of ours and a friend of mine. And he had on all his hosts, and Mendel was talking about, I believe it was Mendel, was talking about in a previous episode recorded last month that 5 years ago we all talked about mobile first, right? And we went through that trend. And Mendel and Bob, as a Woo person, was actually preaching that maybe we should be preaching WooCommerce and online shopping first. Do you have any thoughts on that one?
I think these trends change with the time, like during like 4 5 years back, when responsive layouts and having good layout on mobile phone, that was all rage. And I still remember at those days, people were selling website being responsive as a bonus add-on
Mm,
in addition to existing website, and now responsive is like default feature if you're getting a website, right? It's not
yeah,
something that you're going to create. Obviously then WooCommerce came into the scene, and suddenly selling things on WordPress became so easy, right?
yeah,
But then WooCommerce has its own woos, sort of like it has become a big monster now. There's so many things that are right in there, but there's so many things that are not right there. So but the good part about now is like people have options. So if you don't like WooCommerce, there's other options even in WordPress ecosystem. You can use EDD to sell it. There are other plugins that you can use. And if you don't like setting up on WordPress, then there are SaaS options like Shopify. So these trends change, and now if you see, like, we are in that so-called WordPress bubble.
mm,
But if you see outside WordPress, a lot of people use no code solutions, and they use it, why? Because it gives them a quick head start without investing in a developer to build something. And these no code solutions are really good,
yeah,
and people are now building those because there's a demand for it, because now the urge to become an entrepreneur, provide a solution, is more than ever before. Now people want to spend time solving the problem, not building the infrastructure to actually solve the problem.
yeah. And the state of the world we're in with COVID and people trying to stay at home has probably pushed us more to a e-commerce trend. Like one of the trends I think companies should look at is if you're a restaurant or something like that. Maybe you shouldn't go to an Uber Eats or a Skip the Dishes and get them to build out your ordering structure. Maybe you should take the money up front, build your own structure, and be done with it. Because in the long run, frankly, you'd save money, but these small shops are not thinking, or small restaurants are not thinking of things that way. I mean, and frankly, I think going into Christmas season, I was reading a stat that online shopping is up by 80%. I know typically I buy, being a computer geek a little bit, I buy all my stuff online. I have for years. And this year, I didn't buy one gift in a store that wasn't either online or curbside pickup.
Yeah, things have changed, because this year I've done very little offline shopping. It's been online. I usually don't buy, I only buy, electronic stuff online, but other than that, I don't usually buy things online. But this time, most of the stuff that I needed for my own thing was online. So
Yeah.
because COVID has made everyone be online more, I guess.
Mhm.
So, and now people are more comfortable also being, because they have no other option. Like either you risk COVID and go offline shopping,
Yeah.
or you go stick with the online stuff.
Yeah, and the other reality is, and it's not really a WordPress issue, but it's a communications issue. We're lucky now if, we've got tools like Zoom, Microsoft Teams, which I use at work. I've become such a Teams guru lately. It's not funny. I'll go to my meeting. We can jump on and do a call like this. And I don't know where we would have been 10 years ago. The tools weren't the same. It was harder to do this. I mean, we could, but it's not the same level. And, it's funny, we talk about, I've never been a Slack fan, I have to tell you. And with my new employer, I'm actually using Teams and the messaging in Teams more than I've ever used before. So what's with that, So things have changed, haven't they, Davinder?
Yeah, it all depends on what you're used to and what you want to. Previously, when Slack actually came on the scene, I loved it. But after a while, I realized that it's just draining my time, because it's like it deserves your instant attention. Like
Mhm.
it's like a 24 hours messenger, right? Someone is
Yeah.
picking you, you just go there. Ooh, who's messaging me? Let's see who posted this. So I'm out of Slack now. I just don't. I was part of many Slack groups. Now I'm still part of it, but I don't just log in there. It's just
No, I have not gone down that rabbit hole at all. I mean, and I've even, I mean, for me, one of the biggest trends going next year, I've even cut down my, as you know, my Facebook time quite a bit. I talk to the people like you who I want to talk to, and the rest of the world. I kind of look at that and say, I'm not getting in that conversation. I'm not getting in that conversation. So, where do you see yourself moving as a developer in 2021?
firstly, I don't call myself as a developer, because again, I think I can understand. I do understand code. I write code. I design, but
Okay.
like to call myself as an implementer, because there are many people who are better than me. But then I don't know. Maybe it's an imposter syndrome. So where do I look myself next year? I think I will be doing more of my own stuff. Like I'm trying to shift the needle for last 3-4 years now. Like from 100% client work, building websites, to having your own content sites, affiliate marketing, courses, resources, and all that. I've already shifted that from 100 to 30%. So now the split is almost like 60-40. I want to tilt, I want to flip it over, like make lesser websites. I still love and enjoy making websites, but as of now, I only work with people who I've been working for so many years now, because there's a comfort level there. I rarely work with a new client for last 1 or 2 years now, because never felt the need, to be honest. Touch wood, like God has been great. Like my existing clients and agencies I work with, they are really awesome, and I give them the highest quality work. Then I get the remaining time I invest in my own stuff, which also generates money. And but more than money, it gives me satisfaction. That is very important, because
Yeah.
website's a website, like you build it and you move to the next one. But when you have your own project, that's like a constant high on energy, and constant satisfaction. Plus you get to you know build connections in the community. Like even I met you via
Yeah.
Facebook, and
Yeah,
you via
a
WordPress.
couple years ago, and you and I, despite being across the world, has developed an amazing friendship over 2 years, and there's something to be said for that too, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's just we are part of the ecosystem. It's just we connect better. I'm sure there are so many connections like we do have in other
Yeah,
people as well. So that is the beauty of the community. But then you have to be there and get out in the community, because I see a lot of people actually don't participate in the community. They just are happy with their agency website and dealing with clients, which is fine. But then I think if you want to learn and share and grow as a person, it's good that you start interacting with community, because you tend to um, one may be at a very high position, but when you interact with someone who is new, you actually learn more things than you will learn from an expert.
I so agree because sometimes we get tunnel vision for what we're doing. I think this year it was funny. Somebody's asking me what I was working on this year besides my switch to a full-time job, and I said, frankly, I really don't want to build websites anymore. I'm at that point where I don't mind doing the maintenance side of it. I don't mind doing the security side of it, but I'm not so sure I want to spend a lot of time building from scratch. And one of the reasons for that move is I think people are unrealistic. They want the Rolls Royce on the Pinto budget, and that's a bit of a problem. And then you always get into this with clients. What does the contract say? And they say that's not good service. And I said, but what did you sign? And it's that clients like to sign contracts and then like you to give on those contracts, and that's a bit of a problem too. So I've kind of decided unless it's a well-known client or somebody I know well, I've kind of decided I don't want to build sites from scratch anymore. I'm at that point.
Yeah, because contracts are such a boring thing. Can you imagine? I've not done any contract for the last 2 years because people I work with, the level of honesty, the level of trust is so much that I just don't need to. I don't even have to tell them this thing is going to cost them this, because we have the established set of rules and protocols. So
Yeah,
that feels amazing, and it's sort of a freedom also, because you know how much writing one website contract can consume your time. Not just time, it consumes more of your brain rather than time.
that's true. And it gets dicey. And I mean, for me, contracts have got me out, as you know, out of messes. So that's kind of my go-to. Davinder, thanks for joining me. Why don't you tell people about your WordPress Weekly project and how they can get in touch with you on the interweb?
Okay, so if you are a WordPress user and want to know all the good stuff that happens in the WordPress community, be it all new plugins, all new tips, tricks, news, who bought who sold off, who got the website scared, security scared. Now that's too long now. So you get all that good
Yeah,
stuff that can be read in less than 10 minutes every Monday in your email. So you just have to go to the wpweekly.com and put in your email address and sign up for the free newsletter. Alternately, you can also read it on the website and, of course, share with your friends, WordPress friends, not the friends who don't understand WordPress. They will consider you alien. So that's the pitch. And if you want to connect with me, I am Davinder, I as in iPhone, followed by Davinder. It's Davinder everywhere. Go to idavinder.com, Davinder on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I guess that's about it. And I
yeah,
do have a lot of websites, but again, I won't spam the show
yeah,
with them.
yeah. Davinder, thank you for your time. Happy holidays, and to everybody out there, happy holidays, and we'll talk to you all soon. Thanks so much.
You too. Thank you.
Bye bye. A very special thank you to Davinder Singh Kanith for joining me this week to look back at 2020 and look forward to 2021 in the world of WordPress. Thanks, Davinder. It's always a pleasure to speak with you. This podcast is dedicated to my late father, Bruce Cairns, and my wife, Jill McLean Cairns. I love you both very much. If you want to get in touch with me, you can email me, vip@stunningdigitalmarketing.com. Go to my website, stunningdigitalmarketing.com. If you go there and go to stunningdigitalmarketing.com/free, sign up for our weekly newsletter of tips, tricks, and things to help you with your business and how you succeed in the fast-paced world of digital marketing. Please keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars and make your business succeed. Bye now, everybody.